We've got another big chop for you guys today. What we're gonna do today is we're gonna break down a few things. I'm gonna break down a way to simplify your scissor work, so that way you can go from a big, bulky, overgrown haircut like this to something nice, well-shaped, something controllable. We're gonna go over how to get that clipper work to flow smoothly into that, and the reason why we start with scissor work. And then we're gonna go over the intricacies of blending out that bottom bald line, because that is just like the most important part of the fade. And you definitely don't want to miss the styling secrets I'm going to give you at the end of this video using the Tomb 45 powder, and how I get the best style for these textured fringe haircuts. All the tools: Stylecraft, Gamma, Tomb 45. You can use a discount code TitoCuts if you want to try these tools for yourself. So now that the hair has been fully saturated, and we're gonna be going for a crop style haircut, like a crop top, a textured fringe. There's definitely a few ways, a few different names that your clients are gonna name this haircut. Most of the time they'll show you a picture very similar to the haircut in the thumbnail today. Now, the easiest way for me to approach this haircut, the most important thing, the key part about this haircut is the fringe. It's the messy, choppy, but still neat and organized in a way, the way that the front bangs lay. So if I start this haircut by creating the texture and laying the foundation, first I need to determine the length of the haircut, and then I'm gonna go ahead and create that choppiness using some point cutting techniques to be able to first concentrate on that. As long as I can make sure that I have those bangs set and laid down the right way, I can make sure that the rest of the fade flows into it. So what happens if you just jump straight into the fade, and what if you accidentally fade it too high? Now your bangs are gonna have to be a whole lot shorter than what you initially intended to, and it's not gonna flow right. Or let's say if you jump into the fade and you do it a little bit too low first, you're gonna have to end up redoing the whole fade just to make it look right with the bangs. So for me, that's the reason why I like to start with the scissor work. I wanna start on top. And you continue now, after you finish up those bangs, now you can wrap that foundation all the way around. And in the next step, you're gonna see why this is so important. So the foundation on the side is already done. Now what we're gonna do, if you take a mohawk parting all the way down the middle, this is where you take that information during your consultation you got. Hey, I want you to take 3 inches off the top. I want you to take a 1/4 inch off the top. This is where you apply that piece of information. You cut this piece down to the desired length of your client, and it's cake from here. Look, what you're gonna do is you'll take this mohawk parting and you'll cut the length that you need to. From here, now look, you see how this little piece is sticking up? I'll be able to grab this section and match it to the foundational piece that I cut on the left. And then I'll be able to grab that middle piece again and connect it to the foundational piece that I cut on the right. This is definitely inspired by the Josh OP, the OP45 DFS formula, but it is not the formula itself. I would still recommend that all of you take that course and just take some inspiration from it. It's definitely worth it to invest in your education. I did that, and I've been studying it over time, and this is my interpretation of it. This is how I apply it to my style of cutting. But I highly encourage you to take that class. So here's the beautiful thing about why we cut the way that we do. You have to first understand truly basically what the clipper length of your fingers pressed against the head is. So if you have thicker fingers, like myself, it's gonna be a number 4, right around there. If you have slimmer fingers, it may be a number 3. So since I know, and I have full confidence that my block graduation on the side matches to a number 4, I can cut to and through that foundation that I set with the scissors. And you can just see the positioning. Look at how the bangs flow now into the side. Setting the foundation with those scissors first ensured that I knew exactly how high I needed to go with my clipper, and it eliminated the guesswork for me. Let's start working into this fade now after we debulk with this 4. So now we're at the part where we're ready to fade since the debulking is done. Now you can do this with a trimmer, you can do this with a 5-out blade, you can do this with the clipper closed like I'm doing right here. Now, of course, in this case, his hair is a lot finer, so I found it wiser to go ahead and do like my OG fading method, like I would teach you guys early in my channel, with the clipper all the way closed, because it is going to put a softer line. Sometimes with this fine hair, if you're not careful with punching in a line, you're going to give yourself more work to do at the end of the haircut. So in this case, I went ahead and did it, but you can do it either way. There's multiple ways to skinny cap. Now, the next guideline. This one also, you'll remember, before back in the day, this is more like my OG fading method that I would use, the zero guard closed. They're interchangeable, whether you want to go in with the no guard open or whether you want to go in with the slightly softer version of that, the zero guard closed. They're interchangeable. I would encourage you to try both methods, but either way, the key is, I think that you want to make sure that you give yourself enough space to blend. The one universal rule is don't do just half an inch, because I'm telling you, this is the most important part of the blend. If this part ain't well spread out and blurry, your haircut will look like a bowl cut. It's gonna look like a way too heavy line. It's gonna look like amateur work. I'm trying to help you guys blow past that phase of amateur work. I want y'all to get into the big leagues as soon as possible. So give yourself this space to blend. Now, what we're looking at, we can choose to concentrate right now just on that little area. You could go ahead and set the other guidelines if you want to, but a really good way of approaching this is knocking it out right now. You'll also notice that I switched over to a brush, a fading brush, so that way it helps really make sure that you're clearing all the debris. When you're attacking that bald line that you put in, you can go clipper open to closed, or you can go from closed to open. Either way, you'll work one notch at a time. If you start closed like I did here, start all the way closed and make sure that you break through that line. And then you go one click open and move a micrometer higher. One more notch open, move another micrometer higher. And then eventually it'll blend out completely by the time that you're all the way open. Same thing, but it would just be that in reverse order if you go from open to close. So look, we've already taken care of that bottom fade now. Everything below that zero guard closed, it's already blurry. So now we can concentrate our efforts on bringing the rest of this down. So if we start here with this number 1.5 guard, and I would start now with the guard open. Usually with the 4, the 3, the 2, I don't recommend you play with the lever at all. Just leave it closed. Your clipper's gonna cut better like that. But when you get down to this level here, like the 1.5 guard, now you start to see some difference in the gradients, in the color, in the shading that's left on the scalp when you're fading. So start now with this lever open on this 1.5 guard and use a floating motion. You can go keep a straight up and down motion, so that way you don't have to worry about setting in a new line, right? You can see there, especially here, I slow down and I really make sure that I'm watching all of those hairs feed through the guard teeth, and I can make sure that they get sliced down how they need to. If I start with that 1.5 open, then I can follow up with the 1 closed, right? And then just move incrementally lower than we just did. And then we can use that 1 guard right here, just like I have. If we're fading down to erase that line, I'll start with this open. And then we'll go halfway and then closed. And then think about it. So you're always thinking ahead while you're fading. Since I set that line in with the zero guard closed, and now I'm already fading down using that 1 guard, what's gonna take out that line now? It's gonna be the half guard, right? So we'll go ahead and just continue polishing it down, open to closed. Each guard working our way lower and lower and lower. So now the essentials are out of the way on this fade. It's nowhere near complete, but we can move on and just start clearing out the essential steps. So that way we can get on and move on to our detailing phase to get this thing Photoshop perfect. So let's debulk this hair now. And this actually was my first time ever trying that cyborg trimmer that Gamma came out with. Now, very similar to the Stylecraft Saber, like basically the same motor, same machine. But if you're a fan of like those OG T outliners, anything that felt like it had a bit of a more heavy feel to it, this is probably something that you would enjoy. It does have an all metal body, so this one is going to be a lot more heavy and feel more solid in your hand. It's completely a matter of preference. I can't say if it performs any better or any worse than the Saber. Honestly, I think the performance is neck and neck, which is a good thing. So that means that you have the choice. Do you want to have a more heavy duty clipper, like metal body, or do you want to have a lighter weight, trimmer body? And then that, of course, would be your Saber. It's not necessarily a bad thing having heavy weight on a trimmer. A clipper, I think it's a problem because that's going to be what's in our hand 90% of the time. A trimmer and a shaver, I can appreciate some weight on that. Now, not all of your clients are going to need this, but if you do have a client that chooses to have a really smooth, buttery bald finish to the fade, then this is where you're going to pull out your foil shavers. Whether you choose to do this in the beginning of the cut, right after setting in that bald guideline, or if you choose to do it like I did in this video at the end, you guys have seen me do both ways. They're both totally possible. Just make sure that you have applying full pressure at the very bottom. And then you soften up the pressure as you get higher towards the trimmer and clipper length. One of the hardest things is to put in a line after the fact, which is why I flip over my shaver like you can see here. Flip over the shaver, graze over that area with the grain, against the grain, light pressure. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. It's totally okay and normal to go in and bald this out after, but you just have to be very careful with it. So you don't want to put in a new line, because then you have to go and redo the fade all over again. That's the worst nightmare in a barbershop when you're cutting back to back trying to stay on time. So we can move on now to the detailing phase. Like I said, the foundation of the cut is there. It's already way better than what a super cuts, a great clips haircut is going to be. But like I always say, this is the barbershop. This is why they come to us, to get this crispy quality Photoshop perfect cut. So I'm going to use a little bit of thinning shear over comb, and you can see how much that softened up that area there. I like to do it, if you have a flip tooth where you have the option of having your teeth facing up or down on the thinning shear, I like to have the teeth facing up. I feel like it removes a little bit more weight per snip, so as long as you're being precise with it, it can definitely be a valuable asset. Check out the shape on this haircut too, guys. I mean, you could see this haircut, this fade is just going straight up and down. There's no digging into his head shape, nothing that makes it look wonky. That's also another key why I think it's so important to start with scissor work, to say a proper foundation. Now, More Fades just made his last video, the one where he's cutting that high fade, slick back. I highly recommend you guys check him out too, because he's another upcoming YouTube barber in my shop here. And he just recently was talking about that same concept right there. The reason why you want to set your foundation with scissor work and precision is because if you just go through and debulk with a 4 and you think that's going to get the job done, it's just not going to, you're not going to get those same quality results. That's how you end up with those super cuts, those great clips looking haircuts. That's not the quality they look for when they come to the barbershop. So we're gonna keep on working through this detailing phase, clipper over comb, thinning shears over comb. Let's go ahead and get wrapped up here. So you could see this fade came together real nice, man. And like I promised you, I'm showing you the Tomb 45 Pure Powder, this texturizing powder that we have now. And I wanted to show you guys how, number one, look, I didn't have to take any time blow drying his hair. I cut the top how I knew it needed to, and I moved on to the fading, and it air dried as I did the haircut. So you see, I didn't have to take an extra 10 minutes, right, to do the blow drying. So now that the hair is already dry, I went ahead and I sprayed over the top, just dusted it over the top, and I started to rub it in on those corners and make sure that I work it in with my fingers. Less is more when it comes to this texturizing powder. You don't want to oversaturate your hair with this powder, but definitely start to work that in just like that. And then this is why we cut the texture in the front the way that we did, because now you can literally take your fingers and pinch through the different sections of this fringe here. You get a nice piecey finish there. So I appreciate every single one of you so much for tuning into this video today. I hope you picked up a couple gems. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Send this video to a friend that you think needs help styling these types of haircuts. Everyone has their own challenges, so share this with your team. And yeah, guys, look, I'll catch you on the next video. Thank you for tuning in.